Nearly 2 weeks after the fall of the Bashar al-Assad government, the calls for democracy have been growing louder in Syria. Hundreds of protesters gathered at the Umayyad Square in Damascus for the first time since the Assad government's collapse. Protesters from secular parties and Syrian intellectuals called for broad participation in the incoming government to build modern Syria. Others called for a national comprehensive dialogue to build a country for all Syrians.
هي في الإعلام هي في حرية حرابية عاشت سوريا حرابية عاشت سوريا حرابية
The gathering of the civil youth aims to call upon Syrians to demand a state for all of Syria. We went out to say that we exist on the streets, not only on social media. Our ultimate goal is for Syria to be a state for all. We are trying to do something that suits Syria as a civil youth gathering.
Demonstrators chanted "Free Civil Syria" and that the Syrian people are one, while some protesters held signs including "No Free Nation without free women." Syria is home to multiple ethnic and religious communities, and as many of them fear the possibility that Sunni Islamist extremists will take over.
The Syrian woman should not be a partner, but she should be the one leading, because it is known that in wars, men travel and die, and their numbers decrease, and women become the ones who control all aspects of civilian life.
Syria's de facto leader, Ahmad al-Shara, better known as Abu Muhammad al-Julani, has urged Western countries to lift sanctions as Syria prepares for a transitional period.
We must deal with the Syrian issue in line with current events. These current events require the lifting of all sanctions because these sanctions were placed on Syria due to the regime that was ruling Syria and had committed all these crimes. So it makes no sense to convict the torturer and the victim at the same time. Today, thank God, the weak have gained victory over this regime and kicked out the regime from the political scene. These sanctions must be lifted. Then we will be able to implement our programs for growth and reform in the country.
He goes on to say the new state will seek to pursue legal channels and diplomacy with Russia to bring Assad back to Syria to face trial. This even as the Syrian interim government is all set to release the list of names of wanted former Assad regime officials. Kurdish fighters who came to Syria from around West Asia to support Syrian Kurdish forces say they will leave if a ceasefire is reached in the conflict with Turkey in northern Syria. The withdrawal of non-Syrian Kurdish fighters is one of the major demands of neighboring Turkey, which deems Syria's dominant Kurdish groups a national security threat and is backing a new military campaign against them in the north. Israel has been intensifying its military activity in the Golan Heights buffer zone. Moreover, it has established a military outpost at an abandoned Syrian army base in the village of Maria in southern Syria. The village on the western end of Syria's southern Daraa province is near the Israeli-occupied Golan Heights, but outside of a buffer zone in the Golan Heights. In response to Israeli incursion in Syria, Russia has urged Israel to remove its forces. President Vladimir Putin has raised concerns over Israel deploying additional forces in Syria, calling it a key beneficiary of the ongoing events in the country.
The main beneficiary of the ongoing events in Syria, in my opinion, is Israel. You may have an opinion of what Israel is doing, but Russia condemns the seizure of any Syrian territories. It is obvious a position on the issue is not subject to any corrections.
The Pentagon says it has 2,000 US troops in Syria, far higher than the previously known number of 900. However, it says the additional troops are considered temporary forces that had been sent to support the counter-Islamic State leader's mission. U.S. State Department's top diplomat for West Asia is also set to travel to Damascus in the coming days. The UN, on the other hand, has condemned Israeli strikes on Syria. It has urged Israel to end the attacks, calling them violations of the country's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Amid the political chaos, a Christmas market opened in Damascus. Visitors flocked to the market where they strolled around and took pictures next to Christmas decorations. For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.